Andrew, lovely to
Good.
have you on the Polypody Review. Um,
Absolutely.
Usually on the Polypody Review, I like to ask herbalists to come on. An initial question is that when did you realize you were on the plant path? Was it very early on or later in life?
Well, um, my father knew all the wild plants,
Mhm.
so he learnt it from his mother, and not in the traditional way. My great grandfather was a professor of botany at Imperial College,
Right.
and so paradoxically, I learnt through the scientific route rather than from grandmother in that respect.
Right.
But my father knew all the plants and loved them, and we'd go for walks. And yes, I I would know what ground elder was and what primrose was, etc., etc.
And presumably all the
And
Latin names of them if you were
so
going
I
down
think
that
that
route, yes. So that was something you grew up
no, we didn't go to the Latin names.
with. But you
That
did
was what I grew up
botanical
with,
education.
and
And so when did you decide?
without being aware of it.
Right, yes, it just seemed like natural way of life that you just everybody knows all the plant names sort of thing.
Well,
Um,
it was. I'll put this one in that I remember going to a performance of Midsummer Night's Dream, which was a college performance, and there were mostly young people in the audience. And I thought to myself, I might be the only person in the entire audience that actually knows all these flowers that are being
oh,
talked
of
about.
course. Wonderful.
But anyway, um, so uh,
And did you like growing
it's
plants
really
and things? Were you interested in actually, the cultivation side?
as a boy, I had my own. I was given a little patch of garden, which it was a new house and a new garden. So my poor parents, they had this large semi wasteland, which they were trying to turn into a proper garden, and I had this little corner that was stuffed full with roses and calceolaria and
Wonderful.
and full of bright color. um, but I suppose, in terms of actually becoming, moving towards herbal medicine,
Mhm.
it was, I mean, I was a very sickly child. I had bronchial asthma.
Right.
And so when I first, when I went to university and had a girlfriend who was into whole foods, I
Hmm.
started to realize that even with food, I could make myself feel better. And
Right.
then I, was introduced to chamomile tea and peppermint tea
Right.
and these things, and slowly got a sense that these things actually could have a profound impact on you.
Absolutely. And did you and did were you studying something sort of botanically at university?
No, I I was studying literature, philosophy and literature at
Oh, goodness.
university,
Right.
and I had I I aspired to be a poet, as many people do, and failed to achieve it.
So
um,
how did you get into herbal medicine as a profession sort of
well,
thing?
the, well, the what I've written in the Herbal Apprentice is an approximation of the path that I got very ill,
Hmm.
um, and it is literally true that it was clearly a viral infection, and the
Right.
doctor wanted to prescribe me antibiotics, and I was never one for taking tablets.
No.
Um, so I didn't take them because I thought there's absolutely. I mean, okay, looking back, they would have had anti-inflammatory activity, but they weren't going to resolve the problem.
No.
And I found by that kind of I don't know what there is a technical word and I can't remember what it is, but the way that uh, animals are observed to they go and browse on
Oh,
particular
yes. Yes, I know
plants
exactly what
when
you
they
mean. Yes.
uh, but we have that capacity, that quality as well. And I managed to find, I was taking lots of garlic, um, chamomile, now we know chamomile's got large amount of immune supporting activity,
Yes.
or antiseptic activity, and tonic water. And I was quite unaware of the inclusion of the word is escaping me. The Peruvian bark, the cinchona, in the
Yeah.
in the
Tonic water, yes.
tonic water, and of course that is antipyretic and has a lot of antimicrobial activities. So
That's very interesting.
I instinctively found things that were going to be
Right.
helpful.
And did you suddenly have sort of urge, sort of goodness, I'd really like a glass of tonic water sort of thing, or was it you just took some tonic water and you felt better, or I mean, was it like they say, a pregnant mother wanting pickles or something that you had an urge to?
I think I really just wanted tonic water, and somehow or other that my consciousness was being told, follow this path.
And so
And I would say that I would say that has been an undercurrent, and a very important undercurrent in my practice, that I've carried on. You learn about herbs in one way through the way that they directly impact on you.
yes.
And that is the intuitive side, or it's an aspect of the intuitive side that should be married to the intellectual side.
Definitely, yes. Fascinating. And so how did you then make the leap to I want to be a herbalist, as it were?
Well, I was helped by a herbalist, and I was helped by a friend who was an osteopath, and she knew about the National Institute of Medical Herbalists.
Right.
And I got in touch with them, and I initially enrolled just to learn enough to be able to treat myself and my family.
What was that?
It was a 1-year correspondence course.
Correspondence course, yes.
Yes. And then I decided that actually, yes, this was for me. And so carried on, and I think it took me 5 years in total.
And where were you training?
I was training at the School of Herbal Medicine in Tunbridge Wells with Heinz Zelsler as the principal.
Right. Yes. And I mean, he's an interesting chap. I never got to meet him, but he's obviously he's trained a lot of quite senior herbalists now.
Yes.
What do you
he
think?
was
He was
a true character.
And what was his background? I mean, who taught him, as it were? I'm always interested.
As far as I'm not sure, that I'm not 100% sure, but I think he was a farmer in Holland.
Right.
I'm not sure that this is true, but I think he was a farmer in Holland, and he treated his cattle with herbal medicine and found that it was more effective,
right,
than conventional veterinary treatment, and decided to come and study herbal medicine. And anyway, he ended up he had a farm in England, and he trained with the National Institute
right.
when Fred Fletcher Hyde was
was
president.
Right. Goodness. But he's a sort of a key cog in the passing on of herbal medicine, really, to the next generation, isn't he? Because so many.
Yes, because I mean, there was all sorts of riven politics between different. I mean, this is the world, isn't it?
Yeah.
And those on. So he was a character that was capable of making enemies, but he wasn't afraid to pursue what he thought was the right path.
Right.
And he succeeded in building, with the school, in establishing, with the help of the NIMH Education Fund, the school in Tunbridge Wells. And then
right.
he he bought them out and moved to Bodle Street Green. He bought a large house in Sussex,
Hmm.
and established the first degree course there.
Oh, I didn't know. And who was offering the? I mean, that was that at a university degree course then?
It was in conjunction with the University of Wales.
Oh, right. Okay, I didn't know that.
So
Interesting.
it was not, that was the first degree, and the Middlesex was the first degree within a university.
Right, right. Was yeah taught by the university rather than yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
And
And in fact, in hindsight, despite the sorry, in hindsight, the model was definitely better. The Heinz model was better than having it in a
I
university,
think I
but
mean it's an
the
interest.
finances of it are
Yeah,
almost impossible now.
I know. I mean, and a lot of the university stuff was all based on the hope of statutory regulation towards the end as well, which is why they all seem to close
It
up.
was indeed, yeah, yeah,
Um, and
yeah.
so where did you first practice then? Once you'd become a member of
I started. I was living in Stoke Newington in North London, and I practiced in a clinic in Stoke Newington,
goodness.
um, and it was. I mean that was how many? It was 40 years ago. So it was the clinic was fairly ramshackle.
Yes.
Stoke Newington was cutting edge and ramshackle rather than highly prosperous and trendy in the way that it is
Oh,
now.
I know. I lived in
Um,
Dalston from 1988 to 1990.
oh well, you know exactly what I'm talking
Yes,
about.
absolutely, yes. And how much, I
um,
mean, was there much interest in herbal medicine back in the day then?
there
Was it
was a lot of
something
it. Yeah.
cool?
Yes. I mean, I think I was probably there were not many herbalists around in London at that
Right.
time.
But there were people, I mean, 'cause I'm always
Um,
interested in how things like, there's always a sine wave of things become popular and then they become less popular
yes,
and so
exactly.
did you feel the sort of
The,
the 80s was a
the
height?
late 80s, yeah,
Mm,
it took off.
right.
Um, and I was also working in this community clinic in St Leonard's Hospital in Hoxton,
Okay, I've heard.
for
Yes.
people aged 55 and over.
Right.
And I think that helped. That helped to spread the word.
Right, yes, of course.
Um, and I was also teaching an evening class,
Hmm.
or evening classes. Um, yeah, and it was just like it is for everybody. It was a struggle to start with,
Hmm.
um, but I guess it took me a couple of years to feel like I was earning enough to.
Yes.
My wife fortunately supported me
Right,
in
yeah.
the intervening period.
Yes. And I did a little bit of research, and according to Amazon, you published your first book, Herbal First Aid, in 1993. Is that right?
That is correct.
And
Yes.
what got you starting to write? Just because that you felt the
Well,
work?
that was one of those, that working at the Hoxton Health Group,
Mhm.
um, there were acupuncturists, osteopaths, homeopaths, all sorts, um, and uh, so the first book there was it's now called the Museum of the Home, but it used to be called I can't remember what it's called now. In Kingsland Road, there's that
Oh yeah,
beautiful
no,
beautiful
I know
museum. Yeah,
exactly the place. They've changed its name again, haven't they? Anyway, but yes, it's called the Museum
yeah,
now. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it was a person's name, but I can't. It's called
Yeah.
I think it's called the Museum of the Home now,
That's right. It's changed to the Museum of
and
Home rather than
um,
come it be. Yes.
it yes, um, and a company who have called Gerard House. I think they don't exist anymore. Um, they were celebrating the publication of Gerard's herbal, or I
Yes.
can't remember. There was
Yeah.
some celebration, and they chose that venue for the celebration. And I got invited as I was working next door to it.
Hmm.
And I was talking away with June Crisp, who was the marketing manager. And they'd also just launched a new publishing arm called Amberwood, and
Hmm.
we were talking about, would I like to write a book? Which, of course, for some reason or other, when I was 16, I knew I was going to write books, but these things are unfathomable.
Yes.
So I leapt at the chance, and I was looking at it the other day, and I was amused by the opening line was, "This is a small book that could have been much larger." And it was just a little book, and then the bigger ones followed on afterwards.
Well, I was going to ask you
But
about that. I know you did a few little ones, but the Encyclopedia of Medical Plants, which then became the Encyclopedia of Herbal Medicine, I think I bought it back in the day
yes,
when it was still the Encyclopedia of Medical Plants. How did that come about? Because that was a much bigger project.
well, that's the same. That's extraordinary thing that these. I was working at the Oxford Health Group, and one of the women, the acupuncturist there, was a part-time acupuncturist and a part-time worked in publishing for DK. And they happened to ask her. They were thinking about publishing because they got Amanda. They were doing a book on homeopathy, and they wanted to do a book on herbal medicine or medicinal plants, and they were quite emphatic at the beginning that they didn't want it on herbal medicine because I think they thought that was a step too far. But medicinal plants, that was all right. She said, "What did she know anyone who published anything who was herbalist?" And I'd just become director of education and vice president of the institute at that point,
Mhm.
and I just published the herbal first aid. So she said, "Oh yes, there's Andrew Chevallier." So they got in touch with me and offered me this project, which I was, to say I was unprepared for it. It was such a steep learning curve, I mean, because the world of herbal medicine is just so vast.
Right.
And it was hard enough to make sense of what were the overriding factors within Western herbal medicine. With people were still talking about physiomedicalism as being the principal form of,
Yes.
was it eclecticism, or and there wasn't the scientific, the overriding scientific perspective which we have now wasn't there then.
No. No.
And I hadn't been trained I'd been trained to learn to practice, not
Right.
to have a more one step back academic look at the
Yes.
plants. So it was it was a challenge that I wasn't prepared to turn down.
And how long did it
But
take you to write the thing before you were able
well,
to?
when I look back, I do not know how I managed it because I had an 18-month schedule to finish it. And during that, I became president of the institute, and I started working at Middlesex University, and I was still keeping my practice going. So my family didn't see very much of me at that point. And in fact, when I went on holiday, I was working from 9 to 1 every morning. But things dovetailed because, of course, I was going to teach when I got the job at Middlesex. One of the modules to teach was going to be Materia Medica.
Right.
So there was a complete dovetailing of work there. So it wasn't quite as dire as it sounds.
Right. Yeah. So you could do a bit of multitasking. I can see that. Yes. And I mean, and were you amazed about how well it sold? Or were you,
Uh,
oh, this is no surprises here, this is what the world needed, sort of thing?
I think I looked on it with a certain amount of disbelief, yes. But if I have to tell you the first edition with I look at it and think, well, it was the second edition that was a lot better.
Right.
I was very very conscious of the I wanted to publicize the institute and Middlesex, and they got a disproportionate place in the first edition,
Right.
and then
Okay.
I got it got a more that was a much more measured and balanced edition, the second one.
Yes.
And then they actually ran out of print, and they weren't going to, this was, because there was that reaction in the noughties. We thought we had a good chance of getting statutory regulation, and that fell to bits. And there was that, with Professor Ernst amongst the leading anti-complementary practitioner movement, there was a reaction, and I think DK at that point didn't think it was worth having another edition.
Right.
And I got contacted by a publisher of about to print books from Boston in the US. Would I be interested in giving him the right to reproduce and produce a copy of them? So I wrote to DK and I said, look, if you're really not going to produce another edition, there's this opportunity for me.
Mm-hmm.
Hear a thing for about 6 weeks, and then they came back and said, we're going to do another edition, and that was the edition. That was the edition which has sold, hundreds of thousands.
And is that the third edition or the second edition?
It was the third edition. Yeah.
And was that much different from the second edition?
It was.
A definite update.
It was updated a lot.
Yeah.
But the herbal entries, I've been there each time they're updated as far as I can within the context of new research and new understandings. But the general introductions and the history, there's not really a lot of change that one can put in there.
No.
Just little tweaks. The most recent edition, which to my amusement is actually not selling as well as the previous one, was done at the peak of work. Honestly, I mean, it's not that I don't see the rationale for it, but it was quite amusing. They have it in DK. They have this reader who's looking out for they probably still do, looking out for politically incorrect phrases or whatever.
Yes.
And that he got to me and said, because I'd used this expression enlightened Englishman in inverted commas,
right,
and he hadn't read the context. I was talking about the enlightened English doctors in India in the 19th century who actually practiced Ayurveda.
Right, yes.
But the thing that really annoyed me was that I wasn't allowed to talk about Native Americans.
Oh,
they had to be the indigenous people of North America.
Oh, God.
And of course, because all the DK books are set, you've got a particular line length, you've got a particular word count.
Yes.
So the whole of the US bit got completely. Anyway, so if there is another edition, that's all coming out.
So, which came first then, setting up a Middlesex course or becoming president of the Institute?
No, I was vice president and director of education. No, I became. Wait a minute. It was 1990. Yeah, they more or less coincided. I started working at Middlesex about the same time as I became president.
Let's talk about Middlesex a bit then. So, how did that all happen?
Well, it was clear that the climate had changed, and that the BMA. I went to a meeting with the BMA, in which it was clear that they were supportive of enhancing education for complementary practitioners so that they had an established level of competence. And the government was clearly, they were endorsing that.
Right, this is what, the early 90s?
Not publicly, but behind the scenes.
And this is the early 90s?
This is the early 90s.
Okay.
And Michael, at this point, Michael McIntyre was president.
Right.
And Michael has had this charisma he went to Oxford, and his great grandfather was Prime Minister of Greece, and you know
I did
he
not.
has the charisma to dazzle people.
Yes.
And so we would go off, and we went to various universities, and eventually we got to Middlesex and met the Deputy Vice Chancellor, Ken Goulding, and it was interesting. Some way down the road, he said to me, "You know, Andrew, he had previously been Deputy Vice Chancellor at the University of Hertford at Hatfield." And he said, "If you come to see us in Hatfield, we wouldn't have replied to you at all, because we got far too much funds from Glaxo." And it was just a little window in the way the world works, and the other ones, of course, that I got. But yeah, so that first meeting, Michael and I presented us. I was Director of Education and Vice President.
Right.
And we started the discussions, and they progressed. And then there was a decision taken to try and produce a degree course that was going to be 4 years. And I was in charge of the production of the outline of the course.
Yes.
And that was an extraordinary intellectual activity, because it was about creating the module outlines.
Yes.
And defining the tasks and the outcomes across the whole of the curriculum. And I had Dr. Ellis Snitcher, who worked at the Osteopathic College in Maidstone. He came on board. He did the medical ones, and I had people who we got a whole team of people, but I coordinated it.
Right.
And I got paid by the Education Fund to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Slowly it came together, and then had the that's a good sign. I've forgotten what it's called now. The validation board meeting, and then we got through, and it became a concrete reality. And
at its height, how many students a year were you? What was the intake like?
The first year's intake, I think, was 35.
Wow.
It might have been more.
So
I mean, the first year's intake was it was utter joy, because they were all mature students, who had done other things. There were nurses. We had, you won't believe this, but we had a man who was an ex-USAF fighter pilot. Delightful man. And because he got a grant from when he retired to go and to study as he wanted, and he used that grant to come to London and study. So they were just such an enthusiastic, diverse, interesting group, and it was very interesting to watch. And in the last instance, I didn't want to be a teacher. I was happy to do it for a while, but as the years progressed, the intake became more and more like a normal university intake, and in that sense, it became less and less viable, irrespective of university fees, etc., because you have to have a certain level. You're either quite exceptional, or you have to have a certain level of maturity to be able to do what it takes to set yourself up in practice.
Well, I agree.
In private practice.
Yeah, absolutely.
And most, to come out of university at 21 and set yourself up in practice is is almost an impossible task for most 21-year-olds.
Yeah, I'd imagine most of those would be looking for jobs in sort of industries that
They'd be working, yeah, and then it was so they'd done a degree and they ended up working in a
yeah.
health food shop. You just
Yeah,
wanted to,
I know. It's
uh, yeah. So yeah, there I did. I remember reading. It's actually in the book, in the book, but I remember reading about Arthur Conan Doyle.
oh yeah.
That one of the reasons that he decided to write was because he couldn't earn a living as a doctor. I'm sure he was a very competent doctor, but he was
Yes,
in Edinburgh, and there were dozens of doctors,
of course, yes.
and there wasn't enough money around
Hmm.
for him to be able to earn a living.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
there's no shame in that because he wasn't. I'm sure he was a very good doctor, but there's only the economy as it stands will only accept a limited number of complementary practitioners.
Yes. Yeah, no, it's absolutely. And so you made the decision to leave then in what, the early 2000s sort of thing after about 10 years?
I was there for just under 10 years.
Right.
And yeah, I just increasingly, I pulled out of herbal politics at the same time.
Oh, really?
It
And so
was,
you stopped being president of the institute then as well around that time?
well, I was president for 2 years and then
Right.
um, I carried on for about another 6 years, helping out.
Right.
Um, if they wanted me to come and attend council meetings, I was willing to come and get
Attend council meeting.
give give advice from my experience and so on. Um, and I think then the institute started to go off in a direction that I wasn't particularly happy with.
And
Um,
what direction was that? I mean, I missed all this stuff, so I'm just quite
well,
interested.
I think that it wasn't so much the politics; it was just the problem with it's all voluntary, isn't it? So it it, it was the incompetence.
Yeah, well, that's yeah, I
I mean,
comment.
but more than that, it's all right for people. It's fine for people not to be competent if they're prepared to acknowledge it.
Yes. No,
But when they
I
think
completely agree, and I think, but and there's also I don't because of the nature of herbal medicine, I think a lot of herbalists have never had any experience of giving
of
instruction to
of
staff sort of thing and things like that, and that becomes problematic as
and
well.
no zero political awareness. I
Yes.
mean political in the big sense of the word
Yeah, no, I know
about
exactly what
what's
you mean. Yeah.
politics.
Yeah, no, I
Um,
mean, it's something I noticed. I don't want to talk too much about it, but
no, no, but
coming from a
it
commercial background, it's sort of always something that struck me. So I guess
yes.
that must be getting tearing hair out sort of stuff sometimes. I mean, were you in your tenure when you were there? Were you presumably you were very involved in all this, the arguments over statutory registration and things?
Oh, I was absolutely the heart of it. Yeah, Michael and I were the representatives of and yeah, and we were making the case and pursuing. I was the secretary of the regulatory working group set up by the Department of Health.
And
Um,
do you think that would have happened if the Tories hadn't got in, or had the winds changed by
oh,
the time?
it was Gordon Brown.
Oh, really?
It was the change from because Cherry Blair was
Right,
was was probably the person that was pushing the complementary agenda.
right,
That I don't think Tony Blair was too bothered, but
right. Yeah, didn't
she
care.
was absolutely in favour of statutory regulation and promoting the availability of complementary medicine for the public.
Right.
And so I think it was her that was probably that, along with the time, it being a groundswell of opinion.
Yeah.
And then when Gordon Brown came in, I don't think Gordon Brown was on that page at all. And
Right. So it was
I
no
think he
interest.
just basically said, you don't need to pursue it if you don't.
Right.
And the Department of Health in general undoubtedly didn't want to pursue it.
So it was easier not to. Yes.
I
Yeah.
have to tell you this anecdote. I mean, it's
Oh,
just,
please,
it
please.
is so priceless. Um, I went with Richard Adams to, Richard was in charge of the clinic for the Middlesex course. And we went to meet various medical directors of hospitals in London with the hope that we might set up a clinic in a training hospital and
Yeah.
have it along. I mean, it was a long shot, but it was worth a try. I mean, we had some good. We went to meet the medical director at the London Hospital in Whitechapel, and he was a very nice man. And we had a chat, and he said, "Look, I'm going to be honest with you." He said, "If it was up to me, I'd be delighted to do it, but I can assure you that my consultants would rather have a kiosk in the foyer selling cigarettes than a herbal medicine clinic."
Yeah.
And that, you know, that just encapsulates it. Professional jealousy is one of those things
Oh,
one
I
cannot
know, I
avoid.
know. Yeah, it's just extraordinary. Wonderful. And were you part of? Yes, you must have been. My dates are very, but when the CPP split off from
I
the institute, were you
Yeah,
around then?
I was, and I was totally on the institute side at that juncture,
Right.
um, thinking that because
What year was
I
that?
mean it must have been about 90,
Was it before the statutory regulation?
96, not 94,
See?
96,
Yeah, yeah, that
something
makes
like that.
sense. Yeah,
And I mean, those splits are not good for any, you know,
no,
I mean,
for
they,
sure.
okay, in the long term they might be, but in the short term they're only disastrous.
Yes.
Um, but what I didn't like was that the way it was presented at the time was that the CPP was the, the scientific, respectable,
Yes.
uh,
Yeah.
suitable public face of herbal medicine, and then that meant that the institute was more of the wacky, and of course it did have that impact because the more sensible, if you
Yeah.
like, we're going to use that inverted commas, um, people tended to join the CPP, and that meant that changed the composition of the NIMH over time.
Well, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, in my experience, because I've worked in the psychoanalytic and psychotherapy areas in the 90s and 2000s,
Yes,
and a
and
lot of
I think there were
these
similar things going on,
were
wasn't
quite. And what I always thought was these things are less theoretical differences than sort of suits versus t-shirts, and it's like,
there? Yes.
we don't like the way you dress, sort of thing. I know you're a bit of a stuffy old sort of shirt and tie guy. You know what I mean? It's like, and actually, if people sat down and really did their theoretical differences, it wouldn't be that much problem. Anyway, that's what I always thought, particularly in the psychotherapy world, which maybe it was pronounced as all, yeah. And
I
it's
think it might be a little bit more marked, more concrete in the herbal world.
right, yeah,
But I mean, I agree with you that it is style is a big part of it.
yeah. Yes, it is a
Yeah.
shame. I mean, everything's coming together again now, it seems. So that's good.
Yes. Yes.
Um, okay, and so you're retired now, I believe.
I've retired as a herbalist, but I seem to have this new activity as a writer, so that's good.
Right, excellent, good. And why did you? I mean, obviously, herbalists never have to retire. What made you decide to retire? I mean, yeah, I know Julian Barker, who's still at it full time at 83 or whatever. So,
Well, I actually thought that I remember. Yeah, I mean, there are lots of herbalists that carried on into their 80s. Um, well, I My wife is Colombian. We have a house where I am now. We have a house in Colombia,
oh,
and
wonderful, yes.
we started coming. We bought it 7 years ago, and I started coming for a couple of months in the winter.
Whereabouts in Colombia?
It, it's about it's in the mountains, about
Mhm.
2.5 hours from Bogota,
Wonderful,
and it
yes.
is. it is wonderful. It's
Is it sort
permanent
of
spring,
eternal
quite fun.
spring-like weather all year round, sort
It is
of?
exactly, yeah.
Yeah, I know. I
So
know.
everything grows. We have plantain and coffee and um, uh, you know and rosemary
Right.
and aloe vera. So it's just this
You've got everything.
extraordinary place for growing. Um, and it's green all year round.
Right.
It's a delight. So that was one facet. Um, and then 2 months off, I found myself being a different person. It was
Right.
like taking a rucksack off your back that you've been carrying for days. The emotional. I mean, I suppose it's a reflection of how I work. Maybe that I get emotionally. I have tried to work so that I'm working on the patient's emotions, not
Yes.
just on the kind of the obvious features. And then that means that you take, no matter what you do, you take on board that emotional distress of whatever form it
Yes.
is. And yeah, I just thought, actually, I've done for more or less 40 years. I'm entitled to have a bit of time without that.
Oh, this is a bit of a vague thing. Like, I read one article which intimated you trained in a spiritual healing technique at some point. Is
Oh
that right?
yes, I did. Yeah, yeah. No, I
So
trained
tell
as
me
a
about
as a
that.
healer.
Okay. And what
Um,
what 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 sort of background?
so I mean, it's suitably wacky. And
Excellent.
the teacher actually was. She could have been absolutely fabulous, because she was an educational psychologist.
Wow. Okay.
And she goes to fashion shows, including the Paris fashion shows, and gives all the models healing before they go out on the catwalk.
Wonderful. Wow. So she's got a reputation then.
She's quite
And
a
how did I mean,
remarkable
how did
character.
you end up training with her though? Is she someone you met and just
Well,
wow.
one of the people that worked with her was Colombian,
Hmm.
and my wife knew him, and I
Hmm.
got to know him, and then I heard about the course. It was a 1 year course, and I actually trained with um, Vivian Westwood's husband,
Right.
who is suitably wacky too.
I can imagine,
Um,
yes.
and it wasn't the kind of stereotype image. It was about. Well, I'll tell you what drew me into it in the first place
Mhm.
is there's a if you've got time, it's a short
Absolutely.
story, but
No, absolutely. We've got another 10 minutes.
um,
Perfect.
yeah, there's a novel, and I can't remember who the writer's name, an American, and the story is that in the 1500s, uh, there was a Spanish boat that got shipwrecked in the Gulf of Orleans,
Hmm.
and only two men survived, and one of them was an upper class Spaniard, and one of them was a black an African.
Hmm.
I don't think he was a slave, but he was. It was. So there's the two of them and they got captured by not the
Oh,
Native Americans, the indigenous people of North America,
yeah.
and and they got treated pretty abysmally. But because he was white, it's the same in Mexico. There was an association with um, him being a god or having
Right. Yes.
divine
Lots of
powers.
yes. Lots of the pictures, the Aztec, and yes, pictures are all the
Yeah,
gods are white,
that's right.
aren't they? Yes.
And so they actually got him to start healing.
Wow.
And he'd never, of course, never thought about it or done it or anything. And then, in fact, the African did. They got him to, and they were giving healing, and he actually found that it was working. He could feel it in his hands. And anyway, so this carried on. He managed to eventually, he got to California and he got back to a Spanish colony and he
Hmm.
got back to Spain and he wrote this long epistle to the king saying to that these were the king's subjects, and they should be. He told him of his experiences and his experiences of healing, and how the king should ensure that these people were treated properly.
Right.
And they, yes, they could be converted, but it was pretty much like the there were two faces of Spanish colonialism. There was the monster one, and then there was the
The other one.
one that
Yeah.
was the,
Yeah.
you know, and anyway, I read this little short story of this, and I thought, yeah, I can feel something in my hands. I'd like
Right.
to use them. And so when that came along, it also was like the polar opposite of having to be a university academic and use my intellect all
Right.
the time and get bored with just having that side of me. So I wanted to do something that was diametrically opposite.
And is this something you then integrated into your practice for the
I
next?
did, yeah, I did,
And
yeah.
how did you, I mean, when you had a patient, would you then say, would you like some spiritual healing as well as some herbs sort of thing, or would you just do it, or how did it work?
Well, I never, I, on my card, I put medical herbalist and healer.
Right.
And there were occasionally there'd be people, and I'd think, I've really got to offer them healing.
Right.
Because, and I said, look, please don't feel any pressure, but if you'd like it, we can try it. You can try it.
Right.
But most of the time, I left it to patients to say, oh, you say you're a healer too, and then we could open up the
Right.
conversation.
Now the
It's not something that, I think most spiritual healers don't charge.
Yes.
So it's not, but in the end, it's not that I still, I can still give healing to people, and people can give healing to me, but I didn't find it actually integrated very easily
No,
into my
one of the things
practice,
that fascinates me.
because it's because, of course, the herbal consultation runs almost exclusively on a verbal level.
It does, yeah.
It's that verbal interaction.
Yeah.
And so when you're healing, you of course, what you're doing is completely stepping outside that.
Yes.
And then how you how you then integrate those two. I mean, I had some wonderful experiences. Quite a lot of times I saw there was a little tiny pair of silver hands that were working with me, that were on the healing the patient's feet, and I'd see that, and then these things that most of the time we don't have. It's not an appropriate thing to talk about because it wouldn't be understood in the right way.
Right. Yes. Indeed.
And then I had one experience which actually really it made me question whether it's something I want. It was like there was, I don't know, in Chinese tradition, they talk about sitting ghosts. They talk about, and it's a very useful concept, that you get this energy, this ghost that sits on your chest and saps energy.
Right.
And
Yes.
you can see someone who's completely overstressed.
Yes.
It's like, and one time I was giving healing to this woman, and literally I saw this hobgoblin come out of her chest and run off. And it was really, really terrifying.
And did she immediately get amazing relief from her symptoms as well?
She did then get great relief, yeah.
Wonderful.
But it was wonderful, but it was terrifying too.
Yes, I know. I can imagine.
Suddenly the normal parameters of the world disappear,
Right,
and
yes.
you're left wondering where you are.
Absolutely. But yeah, I mean, it must be nice for you to still be learning stuff. That I always love learning stuff now, but it's, and presumably that's something you can still do very easily without any equipment, etc. You don't need your herbs.
Absolutely, yeah. So if someone's had a shock, or they fall over or whatever, sit them down, and you can just feel their whole center of gravity and their breathing start to settle down and
Tell
go
me, I
back.
mean, again, and I don't know if this is a consequence of the whole Zoom rise of Zoom and Teams after COVID, but it seems to be a number of healers say that, we can heal at a distance, so we don't have to see you in person. I can be wherever. And I don't know what you feel about that.
Well, there have always been people who are distant healers.
Well, I know,
That's
yeah.
um,
For you,
no. I have a friend who I think is a distant healer.
right?
He's one of these people who doesn't really know what to do with his
The ability.
this ability that he has. But no, I don't.
For you, it's local rather than non-local sort of thing.
It's local, yeah, and I think it's about contact.
Yes.
Um,
Well, I
you
think
know,
that's
it's
very
it,
true about, I mean, it's odd because so much herbal medicine has gone online now. I don't know if you're out of it, but
yes, yes, no, absolutely.
and not,
Uh,
I've been guilty of it too. But I always will try it unless it's absolutely impossible to have at least the initial consultation with a patient so that I
yes,
can
yeah.
but then lots of people don't anymore. So it's
I
really
d-
extraordinary.
it's yeah. I think the minimum is that you've got to have the first consultation because uh, oh well, along with the healing, I started to develop more of an ability uh, to sense. And I'm sure that in psychotherapy that
Yeah.
you develop this kind of thing too. You start to be able to sense the emotional turmoil or disturbance
Yes.
that's
Yes.
going on
Hmm.
within the client, the patient.
Agreed.
Um, and 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 I used to always took people's pulses, and I would take them. Obviously, I'd take them on the standard medical level,
Yeah.
but I would also, through the pulse, try and feel what their emotional state was.
Right.
And
In an intuitive way.
I got really, I got surprisingly accurate in it. Um,
Wonderful.
it and just taking the pulse,
Yeah.
feeling the pulse, it tells you more than so much.
It is
But
interesting. It is interesting.
verbally, you cannot replicate it.
No, you've got to feel all those pulses, and I suspect in
Yeah.
those traditions that have the Chinese and the Ayurvedic,
Yes,
you
even more
can't. That's why you
important.
can't really learn it from a book because I suspect a lot of it is intuitive as well. You've got that sort of
Yes,
guide
yes,
rails, but actually, without having taken 100, 1,000 pulses, you're never going to actually be very good at it.
quite.
I don't know how many pulses you will have taken in your career, but a lot, I imagine.
Quite a lot, but yeah, no, I mean, in China, it's
I
just a
mean,
different story.
it's odd about this whole practitioner thing because years ago, I was quite ill 20 years ago, and for about 2, 3 years, I went back to see a consultant every few months. And he was an old boy. He retired actually, but only about 10 years ago. Um, and just his mere presence was, I'd go in and my blood pressure would be all over the place. But then he'd take
Yes,
it with a handheld swig on a swig still, and it would be so
yes,
absolutely perfect because he was just so good with patients. His whole aura was deeply relaxing, very
yes.
interesting. And I'm sure,
Absolutely.
and he was very, very not with medical thing because I said, "How do you know how much of all this medicine to give?" And he said, "Well, to be honest, we like to think it's all very scientific, but actually it's a bit of an art. We just think about this much and then we'll put it up, put it down, see how we feel." So yeah, he was interesting guy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's nice.
Anything else you'd like to say? I mean, what are your plans? Are we likely to see any more books
Well,
out?
I'm
We're sure
yes. Well,
more books will be coming out imminently.
if you think that you might be willing to publish them, I'm probably writing about one story a month at the moment.
Wow. Okay.
And some of them are herbal, but they're increasingly not herbal. And I confess that I saw this book, The Herbal Apprentice, as hopefully as a stepping stone.
Excellent.
Um, and so yes, I would hope to be sending you more stories in the future for your consideration.
Excellent.
And is that the one that I sent to Alice? Is that when you're going to use that one? That was for Cascades.
That's still with Alice. So
Right,
my pay
fine.
grade
So
now.
you, she seemed to like it anyway.
Yes.
So yes,
They're going to express the literature side. So really, like your original degree now, which you did via herbal medicine, you're much more into philosophy and literature now.
I think that is probably a fair. I mean, it's not that I don't love my plants, and I don't,
Of
I
course.
still make up herbs for people and for
Mhm.
myself, etc., etc. But yes, that part of me is getting an outlet that it was
Excellent.
deprived in the past.
On that note, thank you so much, Andrew. It's been a fascinating chat.
Well, it's been a pleasure. Very nice to meet you.